welcome to my channel. I know it's been a while, but I'm back, and today we're gonna go ahead and talk about anxiety. So the reason I'm picking anxiety to talk about first in my little series of mental health and mental illness awareness is because anxiety is the root of a lot of things that we're going to be talking about in my future videos. So I just want to make a good foundation and a good base just so that you guys can understand future videos. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of, textbook stuff. I'm going to go into the science, and then I want to describe 3 anxiety disorders that I know. If you know any more information on it, please feel free to comment on it. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So according to my textbook, it's a neuroscience textbook that I will go ahead and put the name and author in my description box. It says that about 10 to 30% of Americans at some point feel some sort of anxiety or anxiety disorder. I personally think that is a lot higher than we think. A lot of people don't fill out surveys. Truthfully, I'm kind of like, well, what were these statistics based off of and things of that sort, but that's what we're gonna go off of because that's what the credited author says, and I don't have a PhD, so I'm gonna go with what he says. So how does anxiety even start? Well, it starts with negative thinking. I know it's easy to be like, well, what's negative and what's positive, but I think we all know something that if it makes us feel bad, it's probably a negative thought, and it's probably something that isn't going to benefit us or our mental health. So anxiety and depression have similar symptoms, and as you're going to learn, and I'm probably going to repeat this a million times, depression starts by anxiety disorders or anxiety itself, or feeling anxiety. If anxiety is suppressed for too long, it leads to depression. So it's the feeling of fear, the feeling of worrying, you get body tension, restlessness, and impaired concentration. Sorry if you guys see me look down. I have my little notes here so that I make sure I'm going chronologically how I want to. So like I said, it's fear, worrying, restlessness, irritability, and not knowing why. Typically, we feel anxiety in different situations, but some people feel anxiety for no reason, and that's just because sometimes our chemicals in our brain aren't what we want them to or what we expect them to be, but I'll explain that a little bit later, how it works scientifically. So how it works, it activates our fight or flight system. That's what us psych majors call it. It's what everybody pretty much calls when something is putting you in danger. Humans are meant to survive, and the way our brains work is just so that we could survive physiologically. So our fight or flight, also known as our HPA axis, is what is triggered when we feel anxiety. So when you feel anxiety, you kind of feel tension, you feel probably a headache, you feel like you're breathing harder, you feel like your heart rate has increased, your blood pressure has increased, and that's because your fight or flight has been activated. Anxiety leads to cardiovascular problems. Like I said, your heartbeat increases and your blood pressure increases as well. So things that can cause anxiety are irrational fears. For example, I used to fear driving for some reason, and I think I just grew up with some sort of fear that if I got behind the wheel, I was probably going to crash and die. And it's kind of irrational because I had never driven before, so there's no point in me thinking that way, but I did. So for a long time, it took me a while to want to get behind the wheel and to get my license, and it turned out I wasn't a very good driver. So it kind of made it worse, but once I got in it and once I let go of that fear, things got a whole lot better, and I actually got to go places on my own. So it's just an irrational fear can cause that anxiety, but sometimes letting go of those irrational fears helps you move forward and helps you feel less stressed or less anxious. So what is the science behind this? Well, the HPA axis, as I said, is your fight or flight. So when you feel fear, it starts in your amygdala. That's pretty much where we feel everything. Your brain works together to feel stuff, but we kind of pick certain parts that are meant for that. So your amygdala is going to be where you feel, it's where your emotions come from. So what happens is when you feel anxiety, your HPA axis or your fight or flight isn't able to turn off. Your stress response cannot turn off. So okay, I'm gonna get into this, but if you don't understand it, go ahead and shoot me a message. So your amygdala, that part of the brain where your emotions comes from, it shoots out a signal to your hypothalamus, which secretes a chemical we call CRF, and that goes into your pituitary gland, which secretes ACTH, into the adrenal cortex, which secretes cortisol or norepinephrine. Okay, so let me break that down for you. So cortisol is your stress chemical. You know, you can test stress by getting a cortisol sample from your mouth. It's in your saliva, and psychologists and researchers have actually tested stress levels through your spit because cortisol is in your spit. So in your HPA axis, this shoots this, whatever, but the most important part is your cortisol. If your cortisol does not shut off when it goes back up, it's anxiety. It's your body not turning off its stress response. It's telling you, no, we still need to be on check. So your stress response is created so that you can survive. So when you feel anxiety, it's because you feel the need to put your body into an environment where it needs to survive, when in reality, there's nothing really threatening your life. For example, if you have an exam and you feel anxiety, you really should not, the test might metaphorically to you kill you, but in reality, it's not gonna take out a gun and be like, yo bro, you're dead. No, it's not gonna kill you in real life, but because you put that thought in your head that, oh my God, if I don't pass this test, things are gonna happen, my GPA is gonna drop, I'm not gonna do well in school, blah, blah, blah. So if you put those thoughts in your head, your body is like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? So then it starts responding and it starts to feel anxiety. So basically, if you can't turn off your fight or flight, it's because you're being anxious, you're having anxiety. So your cortisol turns off that HPA axis, your fight or flight, and your norepinephrine is gonna keep it going. So what happens is your cortisol isn't turning it off. It's like, nope, we gotta keep going, we gotta keep going. So when the cortisol is sent back and it's done properly and your HPA axis is like, nah, we're cool, it's called negative feedback, and that's when your anxiety, sorry, I lost myself. It's called negative feedback, and in anxiety, this process is disturbed. So like I said, and like I explained before, I kind of jumped ahead of myself. When cortisol is ongoing, that means you're really not able to turn off that stress response. In short, anxiety is not being able to turn off your fight or flight response. Inability to turn it off means you feel you won't need to, so it continues to go and go and go until one day you might have an anxiety attack, or one day your body and your mind just kind of shuts down and you go into depression. We deal with things differently in our minds and differently as people. So there are three main types of anxiety and anxiety disorders that I'd like to tell you about. The first one is generalized anxiety disorder. This is extreme anxiety that can last for weeks. It's feeling anxious all the time, irritable. You might want to just sleep because your body's kind of like, I'm going through this stress response every day and it's tiring me the fuck out. And that's completely possible. If you're not okay up here, your body's not going to be okay. It's not going to want to do things. It's going to freak out. It's going to be like, why am I feeling anxious all the time if nothing around me is trying to kill me? There's not a bear in front of me, there's no poison in my food, there's nobody with a gun to my face, but I feel that way because up here I feel that way. You know, you might feel like you're attacking yourself, and that's kind of like what I think anxiety is. Your thoughts are attacking yourself into thinking that you are going to not be okay, you are going to be in an unsafe environment. 30 to 40% of it is It's 30 to 40% heritability, which means that if your parents feel or have generalized anxiety disorder, or someone in your family has it, you are 30 to 40% more likely to have it. You have sleeping problems and irritability. So that's generalized anxiety disorder. Number 2 is panic disorder, and this is having a lot of anxiety or panic attacks. Because I've had anxiety attacks before, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate because they are normal, anxiety in general, but learning what it is and how to deal with it is important. So with anxiety attacks, it's because it happens when you feel like nothing is happening at that moment, but your body starts to go in overdrive. So at that moment, like, you can feel anxiety for days, but if you're gonna have a panic attack, it happens instantly and it happens randomly. Things can trigger it. For example, something bad is kind of like the tip off, where it's like, okay, what the heck is happening with my life? What am I gonna do? And that's your heart rate increases instantly. You start to hyperventilate. You might even start crying because you don't know what to do. You start to feel like the world is kind of closing in on you, right? So this is called panic disorder, and I don't want you to self-diagnose yourself. I don't want anybody to be diagnosing themselves, because I am not a psychiatrist, but I just want you guys to know what different things are, so that way, you know, you could be like, hey, like, you know, I felt an anxiety attack. It might not mean that I have panic disorder, but at least I know that I'm not, like, there's nothing wrong with you in terms of, like, we go through these things, you know? So you, this is 40% flat heritable, so if somebody in your family has it, you're 40% likely to have it. So like I said, it's like in the moment, you're kind of like, I don't know what to do, start crying, hyperventilating, and it's really hard to deal with panic attacks or anxiety attacks, because really your mind is racing so fast and your body is racing so fast to try and figure out what to do that you're not making things any better. So you kind of feel out of control. You're like, that's it, I don't know what to do. So that's panic disorder. And then the third one is going to be social anxiety disorder. So this is kind of when these people with social anxiety disorder are very introverted. They don't know how to react around new people. They don't like to meet new people. They don't like speaking in public, because I feel like they get embarrassed for no reason, in terms of, like, when you have social anxiety disorder, you think that everybody's judging you, or you think that, oh, what if I say the wrong thing, or oh, what if I make the wrong face? So you just kind of like blank out, and you're like, I'm just not going to deal with it and not be around people. Or for example, social anxiety could also be when you talk to people, you start to sweat, you start to blush, and it's like there's no reason for you to. It's not like you think this person's attractive or you're trying to talk to them or anything. It's just that they're a new person and you don't know how to act around them. And they feel a lot of nausea as well. They avoid new social situations just because they feel like if they do something new, or if they meet people who are new, they might embarrass themselves, or they might not be liked, or things of that sort. So people with social anxiety disorder are usually very introverted, like I said, but this is completely normal as well. I mean, we've all felt social anxiety before, whether it be to having to give a speech in class, or when your friends are like introducing you to somebody new and you're like, oh, I don't know this person. We've all kind of felt that before as well, I think. And I think that people with extreme social anxiety disorder, it's not that they're trying to be dicks or they're trying to be like, nah, fuck you, I'm better than you. It's just that they don't know how to make new friends. And you know, I'm very extroverted, so I like to include everybody in everything. So when I see someone who's kind of introverted, I'm like, hi, I'm Miriam, we're gonna be friends forever. And you know, I've seen it before where they, you know, they blush and they're just kind of like, get the fuck away from me. But I think it's very important to friend people with social anxiety disorder because they can feel alone a lot of times because they don't know how to make new friends, so they're kind of like, I have nobody. And I don't think it's okay for people to feel so lonely or to feel like they can't make friends. It's not that you can't make friends, it's just that, you know, you get a little nervous, and that's fine. I'm gonna make you nervous at the beginning, but once you talk to me, you'll be fine. And I think for all of us extroverts, I think it's important for us to make introverts feel included. So I just want to point that out. For people with panic disorder, I feel like it's very important to choose someone in your life that knows about it and that you can call and they will answer immediately, and they'll, you know, they know how to deal with it. I have amazing people in my life. I have people that I can dial. If I feel like I'm gonna have an anxiety attack, I'm like, hey mom, like, I'm freaking out right now. And she's just like, okay, breathe. When you're having an anxiety attack, my best advice to you is just breathe. Take a couple deep breaths in. Slow your heart rate down, sit down, drink a glass of water, and just don't think about anything for a couple of seconds. Just breathe, just breathe, just breathe. And it'll go away, and then you can sit back and be like, okay, here's my list of reasons of why that just happened or why that could have happened. And here's my list of reasons of why I can move forward and I can be like, well, it shouldn't have happened because of this, and I'm okay. You know, sometimes taking a step back and taking a breather is all you gotta do in order to let go of that anxiety. One thing I do promote a lot is self-care. Very like, treat yourself, go get a massage, go get a facial, go to the gym. The gym is scientifically proven to help with anxiety, and let me tell you why. So the gym allows you to put your body into its stress response knowingly. You know consciously that you're putting your body into its stress response, so that for that hour or two in that day, you're like, I'm tiring my stress response out enough so that I won't freak out for this exam. It's a great way to blow off steam. It's a great way to get rid of all those negative thoughts. For that moment, you're like, oh, I need to lift this weight. This is all I'm thinking about for this moment. Or, oh, I need to keep going on this cardio machine. Or, oh, I'm gonna keep going on this bike. Any form of exercise I promote because, like I said, it is scientifically proven to help with stress. Like I said, the way it does so is it puts your body through the stress response so that it won't have time or it won't want to continue later on. And that's why I think people are so tired after the gym. That's why I knock out. I'm just like, that's enough for me today. So that's gonna be my little lecture on anxiety. If I messed up on anything, please let me know so that I can, you know, comment or put anything in the description and be like, yo, this is wrong. Because I don't have my degree yet, but the people who do have their degrees are doing research and doing bigger stuff, so I'm like, I got you guys. So yeah, that's gonna be it. Anybody who also has any advice about how they deal with their anxiety, please comment below. You know, it's easier when people talk about it, and it's easier to be related to when people agree to admit to it instead of being like, there ain't nothing wrong with me. Nobody in this world is perfect, but I also want you to know, do not self-diagnose yourself, because then you're gonna start freaking out and be like, oh my god, I have so much anxiety, I have an anxiety disorder, what am I gonna do with it? No, you're gonna just create more anxiety for yourself. I'm just trying to let you guys know what there is and how I deal with it. Like I said, I go to the gym, get a massage. Oh, there's another thing I'd also like to say, but I'm not going to promote because I can be watched by people who are in charge of me. But it is also scientifically proven that marijuana works directly on anxiety and stress. It is a mellow you out drug. It is going to relax you, but also it can be really bad. So in terms of like, you can start getting paranoid and go on a bad trip, but it also depends on what you smoke. So just keep that in mind. It's an option. Not saying that you should or shouldn't, but it's an option. Yeah, what are some other healthy coping mechanisms? Oh, keeping a journal, writing down everything that, you know, stresses you out, and then, you know, like I said, making another list of what helps it. If you can't make a list of what helps it, I suggest still writing it, putting it away, and then looking at it a week later and saying, okay, this I can deal with, this I cannot yet. But I think writing things down definitely puts things into perspective as well. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm sorry I said 1,000 times. I need to work on that, but you know, this is my second video, so we're not gonna be too crazy about it. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching Miriam Unedited. My next video, I don't know what it's gonna be on, but it'll be on something important. Thanks, guys.